Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Whether you're tuning in on the radio dial here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM, we welcome you all back to our program. Also, those joining us through our iHeartRadio family, we're glad that you all could be with us as well. Best-selling author Melanie Benjamin is on with us today. She's celebrating the release of her brand new book that I had a chance to read called The Girls in the Picture. We're going to talk to Melanie not only about the new book, but also what it's been like for her to see the early response. It's already an Amazon.com bestseller. We'll talk a little bit about what inspired the book and let you all know how you can get your own copy. Melanie, hello to you and welcome to the program.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, the pleasure is definitely all mine. Congratulations to you on the book, The Girls in the Picture. I was fortunate enough to get a chance to read it last year as part of the Amazon Vine program, and I was saying to your publisher that this is one of those books that I think everyone can get something out of because it's all about not only having that goal or dream, but also the sacrifices that come along with it sometimes as well. What has it been like for you already to see the response to the book, Melanie?
Well, it's been really heartening to see, certainly, people embrace this amazing friendship between two women that's empowering and supportive because sometimes we don't always read that in literature today.
Right.
But I do think I didn't mean to time it this way, but in light of Me Too and Time's Up, I think everyone is certainly seeing the timeliness of this book right now, this book about two women working in an industry, Hollywood, which has its issues today, and seeing how some things haven't changed, but some things certainly have. Right. So it's very nice people are making that connection.
Exactly. Well, people know you, of course, for your other work, Melanie. What is it that kind of led you down this road to want to tell, this story with Mary and Francis?
Well, I've wanted to write this one for a long time, for years, and my editor, for whatever reasons, always didn't want me to write this book. So this is one I've always been inspired by early Hollywood in the silent era. It fascinates me because it's just so exciting as everyone's making everything up as they go along. But to have discovered Mary Pickford, who I knew certainly a little bit about, and her closest friend, Frances Marion, who I did not know a lot about. I read a couple of biographies about them several years ago. So I was just really inspired by their friendship and really wanted to tell this book. So, this one's one I wanted to write for a long time, but I was forced to kind of put it on hold and write other books instead. So I'm just really thrilled I finally got to write this one. Yeah.
You mentioned the friendship. That's a big part of this. And also, of course, the idea of what it means to make it, I think, is one of those big things as well, something that I think people today can relate to as well. What was it that surprised you the most, not only about the friendship, but also what these women went through to get to where they were, Melanie?
Well, like I said, one thing surprised me is reading about early Hollywood when women at least had a few more seats at the table than they do now. So to see kind of how we slid backwards was surprising. There were women who invented Hollywood, were just as responsible for inventing Hollywood, and we just don't know their names today. So that was surprising to see how we've just kind of backwards slid. But also the fact that these two women together were able to defy a lot of the men who put obstacles in their paths, because even though there were more seats at the table back then, there were still, it was still a male-dominated industry. And to see how these two women supported each other in the face of all that and actually triumphed was just a really inspiring thing for me to learn.
Right. One of the characters we get to know really intimately is Frances, because you're able to share this with us in first person. Melanie, what was that like for you to slip into her skin and to kind of live out this experience with Mary and also the rest of the world?
Well, Frances Marion was, and again, we don't remember her today, but she really was the highest paid screenwriter of her time and the first woman to win an Academy Award for Best Screenplay and the first person to win 2 Academy Awards for Best Screenplay. So as a writer, she didn't want to be an actress, which was kind of unusual for a beautiful woman then, as it is now, I think. And she had a real pragmatism to her. She was inspired by the creative people around her. She wanted to collaborate. She wanted to make her mark on this business, and she treated her art very professionally and understood the business side of it. And I do that, I think, as well with my own career. And so I think that is really what allowed me to truly identify with this woman who had such imagination, but yet a real pragmatic streak to her as well.
Right. We're going to talk more about that in her relationship, definitely with the other main character of the book, that being Mary. But those who are just tuning in, either on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome best-selling author Melanie Benjamin to our program today. She's celebrating the release of her brand new book called The Girls in the Picture. We're going to remind you at the end how you can get the book for yourself. The other thing that I thought was interesting, Melanie, is you kind of dive into the complications of the lives that they lived and their relationships, was what Frances, the reason why I brought up about it being in first person, you're able to kind of talk about, in your book at least, their first argument together, and that being over a man. Of course, relationships are a big part of life, especially those in the public eye. Talk to us about that and what fun that was for you to kind of play on what it must have been like for these two women and the relationships that they had.
Well, what I do think I really enjoy about their friendship as a relationship is that, yes, of course, they did sometimes have differing opinions about things. And I think Frances, for sure, wasn't real thrilled about Mary's relationship with Douglas Fairbanks. She kind of saw Douglas as more of a opportunist than Mary did. And I think Frances was very protective of Mary, and that kind of led to her not always being enamored with Doug. But I think their relationship, since it really wasn't defined by men, it was defined by a shared passion for this new art form, the flickers, and a shared ambition to make their mark on an industry in a time when women weren't supposed to have ambition. You know, we are talking about the 1914. Yeah. So that's what I loved about their friendship, and that's what I wanted to tell, and that's what inspired me, was because, it really didn't get too bogged down in romance and jealousies and men. It really wasn't defined by that. If anything, it was defined by their defiance of men together. And that's what I thought was so timely and what I loved about it.
Yeah. To tie in with that, Melanie, there's a great dialogue conversation that you have with Frances and the Major in the book, and where he's trying to get her to understand that men want to take care of women. We want them to be home, and we take care of everything else. And Frances letting him know that that's not something that all women want when it comes to being taken care of. And then there's this line, and this is what I wanted to bring up, because I think there's so many people, especially women, who know what it's like when she talks about, winning this argument, and says, no, the only thing I could do was continue my career, live my life, and let my work speak for me. What was it like for you to kind of think about that? And even today in 2018, how that is the case for so many people, to let their work speak for them?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's really how these women were defined, by their work. Yeah, that particular section, Frances actually became one of the first female war correspondents during World War I. So she went to war, and she went from the kind of warm embrace of an early film industry that was a lot more welcoming of women, because it was, an art form, and I do think the arts sometimes are a lot more diverse than real life, to going into, a very male-dominated world of war in France. And so the obstacles she encountered there, alone, without Mary beside her, I thought really, truly probably shaped her character and her determination very, very strongly for the rest of her life. Again, though, the pragmatic streak, she argued that she knew she couldn't always win that argument with words. She couldn't always change the male expectation. Again, that male desire, war is man's work, not women's work. We do want to protect you, little ladies. Again, we are talking about, 100 years ago, when those attitudes were a lot more prevalent than they are now. So I think, again, she resigned herself, all I can do to be the woman I know I am, the person I know I am, and just, keep focused, do the work, defy the expectations through my abilities, not try to win the arguments. And I really did admire her for that. And I think that's what we're doing today as women as well. Certainly we are trying to shape the conversation with words. And I think we are absolutely doing so, but ultimately it has to be the work that speaks for itself. And so you see films like Wonder Woman that did so well this year. You cannot defy that. You can't deny the work that these women did to that, for Mudbound, for Lady Bird. The work is speaking for itself, as it always should.
Exactly. Such a good point. I want to widen out and talk about you for a moment, Melanie, and the success that you've been able to have and the fan base that you've been able to have. Of course, I reached out to you on social media. That's the way I think everyone reaches out these days, and kind of how this conversation was set up. What has that world been like for you, especially as your career has gone on, to be able to navigate that with your fans?
It's an interesting thing. I don't think that a lot of readers or writers, myself included, would naturally be inclined to be on social media. It is definitely encouraged by our publishers to do so. And so you are walking a fine line. I want my readers to be able to feel that they know me, and I absolutely share a lot about my life with them, but there is an awful lot that I keep private, too, that they don't know. I think everyone has to, I need to nurture that privacy, too. I cannot share everything, even on social media. So in a way, you are kind of creating a persona, hopefully an authentic persona, but yet still, I fight to keep things private as well. My little corner of sanity, to myself. But I think the rewards have been huge, definitely. Meeting readers in person. I was just at a book event yesterday, and so many of the women who were there, follow me on Facebook, and we were able to connect in real life. And, that does add an extra dimension to your relationship with your readers that is certainly beneficial and rewarding, and I do cherish that. I do.
Yeah. The other thing is, and I noticed this too, because I was one of those people, individuals sharing their pictures with the book. I mean, talk to us about that experience.
I love that.
I mean, I know you have been, like I said, able to do this, but I mean, do you still have those pinch me moments when you see things like that?
Absolutely. I absolutely do. I've been very lucky to have book clubs send me photographs of their meetings. And for the last book, particularly The Swans of Fifth Avenue, which is a very glam book, it really inspired people to be very creative. And so to be, for them to share these photos where they've taken something I've written and used it as inspiration for their own creativity, for their own, it is very exciting for me. It does touch me. I think most authors still kind of tend to believe deep down that the only people reading our books are our family.
Yeah.
And social media has been a joy in that it has opened my eyes and my heart, and it shows that people, I get to see the photos of people reading my book and sharing it. That never grows old.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that your fans definitely enjoy that as well. I wanted to talk to you about the what's next, Melanie, as we kind of go back to the girls in the picture. I mean, I think, with life and success, one never knows, what's going to happen next. And we're able to see through Frances' narrative in the book, I mean, when they've, quote, unquote, made it, how things change for them and how they're out, doing like we see today, buying things and enjoying that life. Do you find yourself already, even though you're just celebrating the release of this book, do you find yourself still trying to balance the what's next too?
Oh, always. And the thing that people don't quite understand is, since I wrote this book, I have written another book, and I will be working on that once my book tour is over to get it perfect, to revise it with my editor's input to come next. So the funny thing is, in author land, we are kind of always, the book that is out that we're talking about now was over a year ago. And in the interim, we have actually started, in some case finished, another book. So, you're constantly I'm lucky and blessed to be able to, write the next book and think ahead all the time. And that's the specific, I think, challenge of having published several books, is you are often, I'm juggling all of these balls in the air. I still get questions about The Aviator's Wife.
Right.
I still get people wanting to talk about The Swans of Fifth Avenue. Now, obviously, my big focus is the girls in the picture. At the same time, in my head, I'm still thinking about that book that I will have to get back to once I'm done.
Right.
But again, I'm very lucky to have these issues. I really am.
Exactly. Well, we definitely look forward to the what's next, as we are all enjoying this book as well, Melanie. Again, the new book is called The Girls in the Picture. It's available now through our partners at Amazon.com or through your favorite bookstore. If they don't have it, if they're out, don't worry. If you'll ask them, they'll be more than happy to order it for you. And Melanie, let our audience know how they can stay connected with you.
Oh, I'm on Twitter, and I'm Melanie Ben, I believe is my Twitter I see, I'm blanking. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. And the easy way is to go to my website, melaniebenjamin.com, and click all those little symbols down there, and you'll be able to follow me on social media.
Well, we know it's a busy time for you, Melanie. Thank you so much for the time, and looking forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity, and same here.
Glad to do it. And we thank you, our audience, for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. If you all came in late and missed part of the conversation with Melanie, don't worry. Thanks to our online friends, you all can catch the replay right as we go off the air. The link is already available through our social media sites. So head over to Facebook.com/Cyrus Webb or go to Twitter.com/Cyrus Webb. If you click on the link there, you can listen to the show completely for free and share with your friends from there too. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Make sure you take out time to enjoy some good music as well as a great book. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live today. You all make it a great one.